This week on the Unlimited Expedition, we're in Canunda National Park. Check it out.
We've just passed through Southend and entered into the Canunda National Park. Looks pretty good. We're just taking a photo of the map on the information board. It's a four-wheel drive track that goes through the middle of the park. We might just go for a bit of a wander along that and see what we can find. So what happened was the little water drain on the bottom of the fuel filter snapped off and I had diesel pissing out. You can see it. It's all over the bottom of the car. I've thrown heaps of sand up in there to try and soak it up. It was all over the exhaust. The exhaust was smoking badly. Bloody hell. It scared the shit out of me. So I put the original sensor plug back in and I'll live with that. Well guys, that was just sickening. Absolutely sickening. Screaming along the beach at full throttle, pulling a trailer, and the sand was really quite boggy. And all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, I said to Sophie, can you smell diesel? Anyway, stupidly I didn't get out and check, but about 10 seconds later, the car just whoop, 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 went into a fit and completely stopped down there by the water's edge. Tide's coming in. I had no idea what's wrong with it. I looked underneath and there's diesel everywhere. It's just raining diesel. Anyway, it turned out to be the little plug in the bottom of the fuel filter that drains off the water in the diesel. That had snapped off. It's the plug that came with the fuel filter. The Jeeps have their own plug, but I decided I'd just leave the OEM one in when I last did the fuel filter. and it was that one that snapped. So luckily I had the original still in the back, and that's what we got now. So shit. Anyway, it's just about a kilometre down the beach. We found a in lead and came up here to this campground. So we're going to camp here for tonight. Reason being is that I don't want to risk a fire more than I have to with that diesel all over the bottom of the Jeep. The other reason is I'm just covered in diesel, and so is Sophie. So we're going to have a shower, get cleaned up. Well, right on 6 o'clock, all cleaned up. Unfortunately, I still smell like diesel pretty badly, but it's probably going to be like that for a few days, unfortunately. I suppose it's better than losing the truck though, so I'm pretty happy for that. Anyway, it's time for one of these, I think. Cheers. The plan this morning is to head out to Millicent and grab some fuel. We didn't expect to be doing this trek, but it's really good. We're about halfway along it, so we're going to head out, get some more fuel and finish the rest of it. Unfortunately, this morning I was just pumping up the tyres to head out here to Millicent, and my compressors died. So now I've got tyres. I've got one at 38 psi and the rest are at 12 psi. So I'm going to do snail's pace out to Millicent, pump them up at the station out there. I might pull that compressor out over lunch and have a bit of a fiddle with it, see if I can get it going again. I'm just here repairing this compressor. I can see what's happened. Effectively, that's just an electric motor. And in on the shaft, the output shaft of the motor, you've got that sort of eccentric assembly. And that little ring there is where this little fella bolts to. And it goes around eccentrically like that and drives the piston up and down. That's the piston there. There's a roller bearing there in the bottom of the piston. It just goes around and pushes it up and down in the cylinder. Now what's happened is that the bolt that holds that little fella onto the output shaft of the motor is actually snapped. There's the bolt there, and the other half is actually in the shaft. So I've got to try and get that out and then replace it. I've just decided that I'm going to dismantle the whole thing while I'm here and have a good look. Actually looks like it's in pretty good condition. You can see the brushes have actually got plenty of life left on them, and I'll just give that a bit of a clean up and pop it back together, but it looks in pretty good condition really. I mean, this thing is actually 6 or 7 years old and it's had a lot of use, so I can't really complain about it. But yeah, I reckon I can probably just get a new bolt and chuck it in and I think it'll go again. Now that I've got the cylinder end off the motor, I guess you can see how it works. That's the counterweight, and that there is the snapped bolt. I've got to get that out somehow. Hopefully it just threads out with a flathead screwdriver or something, a bit of light pressure. Well, that little broken off bit of the bolt was stuck in there so badly, I had to go to Bunnings all the way down to Mount Gambia and get a thread extractor. I was actually just going to buy this, but it was $14.95 for this, or I could get the whole kit for $15.95. So I don't know how that works out. Anyway, I got the whole kit and it's done the job. Now that must have been put in there with red Loctite. I had to heat it up with the burner to really break the bond, and then it came out quite easily. Got some new bolts while I was there, and now we should be laughing. Voila, it's as good as the day it was made. Anybody with an ARB compressor, I just want to show you these filters. So I've just discovered this now. This is a pad that women use to wipe makeup off their face. You can just get them at the supermarket. That fits in there absolutely perfectly. So I'm going to try and use that as a filter. There you go. All right guys, there it is. Let's see if it works. 2 days later, we're back at Canunda National Park. We're at the southern end now, or southeastern end I guess. What we've decided to do is camp here at the town, which is called Carpenter Rock, and we're going to go up the beach and then inland and around the back of the lake. So Should be an interesting trip.
About 5 kilometres down the beach, the sand has become extremely boggy due to the recent rain. Even after dropping the tyres to 8 psi, we're really struggling to make headway. With the tide on the way in, we decide to exit the beach and not take the risk of getting bogged.
Geez, that sand's boggy. Whew. It's got really moist with the rain and it's super, super boggy. Just then I had my tyres at about 8 psi front and rear and we had to use the max tracks. Geez, those max tracks are lifesavers. I'll tell you what, they've paid for themselves in the last 4 days. We decided that we're going to go on the inland track because I don't want to get stuck right down there with nobody to help me. We're going to go on the inland track and check that out. This is what could happen if you're not careful. Looks like an old discovery.